Hi everybody, welcome back to Saltmarsh Stories. This is our third episode. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, these are standalone stories set in Saltmarsh with a recurring crew. So if you haven't kept up with all of our episodes, don't worry about it, you'll still be able to follow along. If you have been here before, our intrepid heroes are now level 10, so things are getting real. As a lead up to the show, I would like to thank our Greyhawk sponsors. First and foremost, our Patreon supporters and our Twitch subscribers. They're the reason we can do this, so thank you very, very much. Roll20 is supporting Greyhawk channel, so all of our games are supported by Roll20, the leading virtual tabletop. You can try it for free at roll20.com. Heroic Maps is our official battle map sponsor. You can check out their library of more than 300 maps on DriveThruRPG. And Tabletop Loot is also a great supporter of ours. I love them. Some of their dices are the favourites in my collection. You can go to tabletoploot.com and in the coupon code box chuck in Greyhawk for a 15% discount, which is pretty great. Our Patreon supporters and Twitch subscribers, again, you can get a coupon code to Ruink and Cantrip Candles, Alex, in the private section of our Discord. So it's very worth jumping on to our Patreon and our Twitch support because you get all these cool goodies. Okay. Now, let me just get back to my notes because we've had a fairly interesting session last time. But I think what we'll get started with is we'll go around and introduce everybody. I'm Alex, I'm your Dungeon Master today. You can find me on Twitter at AlexCatu. That's pretty much it. I'll go over to Yumi. Liz.
Hello. Hi. I had to mute myself for a second. Took longer than I thought it would. Hello. Hi. I'm Liz Hirsch, also known as Ryu Red Wings all over the internet. You can find me all over the place by that name. This evening I'm playing Yumi, the fallen Astamir barbarian.
My mute button's a little sticky. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to go on down to Scary Dan as Samael.
That's me. I am Dan, or Scary Dan at a lot of places on the internet. I'm playing Samael, or Sam, the elf barbarian.
Lovely.
There's not much else to say.
Yes. Well, he's very fabulous, you could say that.
He is absolutely fabulous, and very much looking forward to what is going to happen today.
I'll move on to Adam.
Hi everyone, I'm Adam. You can find me at Adam Barnello on the internet. I'm playing Derek Eltorin, a half-elf druid who is less fabulous than Sam, but trying to learn.
Outstanding. And over to, for a D&D as Vasha.
Yes, I'm Amber. I play Vasha Stormsong. She is the Sea Elf Tempest Cleric. You can find me at _D&D all over the internet.
Outstanding. And up to Eldritch Warlock as Jara.
Hi, sorry about that. Hi, I'm Sam, or rather Samuel for this, because there's a character Sam and it gets confusing with both Sams. Yes, I shall be playing Yana, a Tabaxi rogue who multiclassed into sorcerer last session.
That is exciting. Speaking of last session, for those of you who have been joining us throughout the whole campaign and would like a recap, or for the new people who are joining us just for today, last session our heroes went out and did a job for somebody they maybe didn't want to do a job for, in particular a little bit of a shady character about town. A couple of our crew members got a little up close and personal with some undead, and as a result contracted something called blue rot, which put them out of commission for a little while. Yes, last session we got the plague. Congratulations.
It was great, y'all.
But don't worry, they got better. So the rest of their group spent their downtime very generously helping them and making sure they got well again. So it just meant that, you know, the time between our previous session and this one was mostly spent looking after their friends, which, I mean, that's what an adventuring party's all about, right? Sometimes. So we start today with Sam and Derek's first day out after being treated for blue rot. It's a fairly fortuitous day because it is also the beginning of the Midsummer Carnival, which is a huge event here in Saltmarsh because it's the kind of town where people come from all over the world to trade and to fish. There's no real particular deity focus here. It's just a celebration of the nicest time of year, especially when you're out on the seas. Winter and autumn can sometimes be a little bit aggressive for you, so when it comes to summer, everybody's really happy about that. So this is the start of the Midsummer Carnival. As a group, as you're heading towards the carnival, you find yourself caught in the crowds that are surging from the main docks over the Saltfin Bridge towards the carnival, which has been pitched in the open area, usually reserved for the markets. You've never seen Saltmarsh like this. You've been here for several months now, and it's always kind of busy in the morning, busy in the afternoon, and then quite empty, like a small town would be during the day. But today it seems like anyone who can afford to has taken the day off, specifically for the launch of this Midsummer Carnival, and you've got all of the residents of Saltmarsh streaming from the docks over the bridge, as well as the people who are just in town for business. They know what day it is, and they're off to the carnival too. So you are packed in. You're being jostled by the throng. Sam and Derek, you feel not great. This is your first day out after being extremely ill for several weeks. And that's where we'll begin.
Vasha is looking at both of them. How are their faces? Have they cleared up?
Yeah, they've still got a little bit of scarring, and if you look really closely, some of the scars have like a bluish tinge to them. But it's not super noticeable unless you know what you're looking for.
And having blue skin myself,
Yes.
she's like faintly touching at them, and she's like, it looks so much better. It's nice that you can join us. This is such a great occasion. You look a lot better than you did. It's good that you can come out and not look kind of like death, but you still kind of look like you feel like death. And she sees that you are like,
it's that thing where you step like outside after being bedridden for such a long period of time, where you're excited but super woozy at the same time, so everything is just full sensory overload.
And what
Yeah,
does
I
what
think
does Vasha and Sam look like for those? Because I know we've got a couple of brand new people in chat. So, what does this look like?
Vasha, she is, is it, so it's kind of warmer out right now?
Yeah, it's the middle of summer. It's quite warm. You've got that nice cool sea breeze coming through though, so it's not oppressive. It's a nice warm day by the seaside.
Okay. So, she's got very like pale blue skin. She has kind of this long mint green hair, and it's braided into this nice side braid, and it's really long, so it kind of goes like down to her waist. And she's got, being a sea elf, she's got some things like there's maybe like a seashell or some like starfish or other things from the sea in there, but she also has like little like a lightning bolt kind of etched into her like side of her skin. As far as robes, she's kind of wearing under her she has like scale mail on, but for the occasion she's wearing something a little bit more festive. Like she's got really pretty blues, turquoises, and purples on, a little bit of flowery attire, so she's trying to look cheery, and so her mood is very like exuberant and bright and peppy, and she's really excited, probably in stark contrast to her friend.
And what does Sam look like?
No, Sam's definitely excited, but even just sort of despite the heat, his concession to nervousness, I suppose, being out, is that he's definitely got his cloak of protection on, even though it's quite warm, just as a bit of physical barrier, obviously, but also a nice bit of a psychological boost there. He's got his usual leather vest top on underneath, and of course, it's his first step outside. As much as he doesn't want to do the invalid thing of stepping out in track pants, and like that's enough. So he's got his custom made battle skirt on from the skin of the Sahuagin that he killed himself. And he's got his battle axes hanging from his belt as accessories, just so he can feel like, even though he doesn't feel great, if he feels like he looks great, then that'll help carry him along.
Dress to impress.
Fair
Absolutely.
enough. And how's
And
Derek
he has
looking?
Derek with us as well,
Yes.
because Sam is like so proud of what Derek's done costume wise. It's like, oh my god.
Yes, and what has Derek done costume-wise?
So Derek followed Sam around a little bit in the interim between our last adventure and when we took so ill that we couldn't leave our rooms. And as a mote of fascination with what Sam does for his wardrobe, he I guess he succumbed to the pleasures of retail therapy a bit. Went out and purchased some finer clothing. Unfortunately, he didn't have a lot of opportunity to wear them prior to taking ill. So this is really his first outing in his new, what he kind of feels like peacock display of frivolity. The good news is he is still utilitarian minded, so he did manage to purchase some clothes of mending when he was buying. So these are clothes that can stand up to the rigors of the sea. But a few times he just kind of like is adjusting himself, kind of feels he looks like he's kind of a fish out of water in these clothes, like a little kid dressed up in his dad's suit, where it's just he's nothing really fits him the way that he's used to, and he's just kind of uncomfortable. And every once in a while, he's like, "Sam, does this look okay? Am I all right? Do I have this up right? Don't really know."
Amazing. So you're kind of fussing over. So Vash is kind of fussing over Sam and Derek as you're making your way through this really tight pressed crowd towards past the bridge towards where the market is. What about Yumi and Jara?
So Jara is walking with Yumi. I would assume, and just leans across. I assume, Yumi, that you are not as happy with these crowds as I am. A bit too close for comfort.
Yeah, Yumi is extremely uncomfortable. I think by now everyone's figured out this is probably the most amount of people she's been around in a very, 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 very long time. And so she's actually even like, she's probably actually the furthest from way back in the group, like trying to like not hit people because she's 6'7" and she's gigantic and she has all of her hair that floats and she's just like, in the entire time. Like, she's probably actually walking a bit like this, like trying to not touch anyone, trying to dive out of the way of people. On top of that, she's also wearing a dress for probably the first time in like a decade for her, so she's also just like, oh.
Yes, the dress. What does the dress look like?
Oh, it's I don't know. It's on one hand, it's very plain. It's just a plain brown dress. It kind of like wraps around her neck a little bit. It's like kind of like a cold shoulder type style-ish, I think. I don't know, man. I don't know how to describe it. But probably for the group would have probably seen this before. But she has like this very brightly colored patterned sash around her waist. It's usually underneath her armor, but if you've seen her out of her armor, you've seen it a couple of times. But it's got like a orange and yellow triangle pattern along with some pink flowers and what can only probably be described as some stylized mountains and wind. It's really nice and colorful. It's probably the brightest thing of clothing she owns. But yeah, it's she's probably out of her armor for the first time in public ever. She still has some of her weapons on her, but she's obviously very uncomfortable, and she's just looking down at Jara, just like, yeah, when is this over? When is the politest time we can leave?
Typically, it is when the most people are drunk. Then you slip away without being noticed, and that is technically polite, because then you're not just leaving.
And what does
I
Jara
think-
look like?
As I say, I think next to Yumi, Jara looks pretty odd because Yumi being 6'7", Jara is just over a foot smaller than Yumi, being about 5'6". And like Yumi as well, he's actually out of his armor for one of the first times in a while. He's a brown furred tabaxi with a few white patterns on his face and, oddly enough, red dyed fur under his eyes in a upside down triangle. But he's wearing a tunic, his scarf that he's always wearing, and a kind of battered looking, tattered old waistcoat. And at his hip he's replaced his rapier with a arming saber, which he's currently got one hand resting upon, just drumming his claws against the hilt in nerves.
Amazing. So you're a very different looking group of people, but hey, this is Saltmarsh. People come from all over. You've got merchants from the Empire of Ooze, you've got merchants from Greyhawk coming through, you've got contingents of elves rolling in from wherever they seem to do that. So you're all very different looking, but you know what, in Saltmarsh, that doesn't really matter. So nobody's really giving you sidelong looks. There are a couple of people who are looking at Derek and Sam a little bit funny, but if you notice, they also all have the similar scars that you do. So there's kind of a camaraderie amongst people who've gotten a little bit up close and personal with the undead in this town and have contracted this illness.
Whenever Sam notices someone paying like close attention to the scars, he quickly casts a little prestidigitation to kind of make people look away. He doesn't really like being noticed for that.
Yes, yeah. Sam would like to be noticed for other things.
Everything else about him.
Literally everything else. You do eventually manage to press your way through this tight crowd into the open area that's usually reserved for the fresh food markets and the fish markets and the like. This is on the other side of town to the main docks, so looking out across the water you can actually see the docks. And while there's still activity there is definitely less than what you're used to seeing. But you burst through the crowds at the bridge and find yourself in this wide grassy space. Today, this small field, gently sloping towards a serene patch of beach, is actually covered in a different kind of stall. These stalls are decorated in bright patterns, sometimes patchwork awnings. Snacks like candied apples and fresh pastries are being hawked loudly, competing with carnival games and souvenirs. The voices all mingle together with the cries of seagulls and the crash of the waves, and somewhere in the crowds there's a fiddler playing a jig. You've reached the carnival.
I hope you don't mind, Yumi, but I'm probably going to stick with you. You happen to play the crowds better than most, and I have no wish to really socialize outside of your lot today, I will be honest.
Yeah,
Out of nowhere, you see this really ears just perking and twitching. Like, this is so fun! And Basha's dancing, and she's like, "Come on!" And she puts her arms around both of you to the tune of the music, and she's kind of dancing, and she just feels Yumi's muscles just rock hard, tense, but she's like, "Come on!" And she's probably half a foot shorter than Yumi, but she's like, "Come on, come on!" And she's like, rock hard, not.
No, I don't dance. Let go. I mean, it's okay that you're happy. I'm happy. You're happy. Let go, please.
And her ears just kind of okay. And
I've lived in the mountains for the past 15 years. Listen, I don't do people.
It's not people, it's dance.
I don't dance either.
I'll tell you what, Avasha, since you seem to like it so much, I shall fake it. I shall fake my enjoyment of this. And if you wish, we can dance. I think I still remember a few steps.
And her ears just shoot back up, the little webbing just twitching.
Yumi definitely mouths, "Thank you," over Basha's head. I don't
Just a subtle nod. Just a subtle nod from Java to Oshiri.
As the two of them go off and start dancing, I shout behind them, "It's okay. You can dance if you want to. You can leave your friends."
Start doing this safety.
Jara,
Thank you, Adam.
Jara isn't actually a bad dancer. A bit rusty when he's dancing with Vashi. It's been a few years since he's really danced. But he's not terrible. He's not got two left feet.
You know what? Both of you roll me a performance check.
Oh god.
Okay.
I'll have a note. Yumi has stayed by with Derek and Dan, and she's kind of like making sure no one's coming over to bother them.
Ooh, that's not bad.
Assholes.
15.
Hmm.
21.
Wow. Okay, you guys are. Jara, who was so modest about his dancing abilities that he might remember a few steps, he is tearing it up. This guy knows what he's doing. And Varsha, you are following along quite well, like better than you expected. You know, it's all about having a good leader in the dance, and
Yeah,
Jara is
I'm
definitely
inspired.
good. Yeah, you were feeling inspired by his dancing, and to the point where there's actually like a small crowd around you now, watching the both of you dance to this fiddler who's seen you and has come over and is like playing for you now.
Like clapping around us.
Yeah.
As everyone is distracted by the performance that those two are putting on, I'm glancing around into the rest of the crowd and seeing if there's any shady characters that we need to be on the lookout for.
All
Ooh,
part
yeah.
of my plan, Derek. All part of
I will get you to make a perception check for me, Derek.
23.
23. Is anyone else having a look around?
Yeah, I'll do that too.
Yeah,
That seems like something that would be up Yumi's alley.
yeah.
Jara,
What is that?
if possible, being used to dancing to distract and keep an eye out at the same time.
Jara's just having a great time.
Would it be possible for him to make a perception check?
No, you are the center of attention right now. What did you get, Yumi? Sorry.
17.
17, okay. Derek, you're the first person. You notice that there is somebody in the crowd and their appearance just rings a bell. It's not somebody you're extremely familiar with, but you've seen them and you have an inkling that this person is important or is somebody you should be paying attention to. So you kind of get Yumi's attention and point him out, and at that moment, Yumi, you see Winston having an ale at a food stall, watching three young halflings with the same curly, honey-coloured hair as him playing carnival games nearby.
I instantly ditch Derek and Sam. Say, I'll be right back. I gotta go talk to. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. And I start making my way through the crowd towards him.
Sam's been so busy watching the dancing. He's like, wait, what just happened?
You want to hear that?
I
Probably.
showed her a person that looked suspicious, and then she ditched us.
Oh, well, I mean, if they're suspicious, should we go with her? Or, I mean, clearly she's fine going by herself.
I'm sure
Don't punch anybody.
I'm sure she can handle herself if anything comes down to it, but honestly, I'm just kind of curious why this person made her just bail.
Should we go and just, like, keep an eye on her?
Maybe from a little bit of a distance. Give her space so that she can handle what she needs to handle, but I would like to follow along.
Sure, and Sam will kind of try and indicate to Varsha and Jara while they're dancing, just do a little kind of, we're over here, gesticulation kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Jara,
You're
What's
like
going on here?
Jara, with your absolutely mammoth passive perception, you don't even need to roll for that. You see him doing that. Why don't you share with the audience what your passive perception is?
Let me
wanna
double
know?
check to make sure.
Yeah.
26.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not gonna make you roll for that.
I
You-
have 21 on insight, just
Yes.
a heads up as well.
Yeah. You see all.
Rogues, man.
So
Other
yes.
than that, it's kind of inquisitive.
26. You definitely notice Sam's very obvious movements.
I'm going to duck my head, or I suppose actually try and stand up on my tiptoes to get my ear to, my mouth to Vash's ear to whisper to her, since I'm smaller than her. You would have to forgive me if I'm so rusty for this, but I have noticed that Sam and Derek seem to be heading off somewhere. If you wish to continue dancing, I'm happy to oblige you still, bad as I am.
What?
I
But
can't get you over how much fun I'm having.
Zhao will go as high as he can now on his
Oh,
toes
like-
because these
like-
doesn't roll.
She's bending her long webbed ear like what?
And he'll repeat what I just said.
Sam's going somewhere?
I think so, yes. He was just gesticulating that he was moving over somewhere else. If you wish to continue dancing, we can.
Maybe we should keep an eye out and see if someone else is watching us too. Or do you want to check it out? And she's like trying to like keep dancing while being like, do you want to check it out? Although, and then she like leans down, we might attract attention if we just all suddenly leave in one direction.
You raise a good point. Well, let me show you a different dance now. I believe an old friend called it the fire step. It is a bit more energetic. I think you might like it, despite the
Oh.
fire and water.
Let me see it.
And Jaro will lead her into the fire step dance I mentioned,
Mhm.
which if anyone watched Avatar: The Last Airbender,
Yes.
that Fire Nation dance that they do. Can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but that's essentially the dance he leads into.
Great. Because it's a different dance, I will get you to make another performance check, and I believe it is a more difficult one.
Oh no.
It would definitely be a more difficult one. Yeah. Huh. What about that? 22.
Oh no.
What'd you get?
I got a nat one.
Jara, you launch into this dance and it is a bit more energetic, but it's like muscle memory. You know this dance. Vasha, on the other hand, trips over her own feet and falls pretty much face first into the grass.
I don't want to
Hey, but-
dance anymore. I'll go check out what they're checking out. Like I imagine it's like that time where like the whole crowd just goes like
Yeah.
an audible gasp and like the music stops.
The fiddler's still playing, but he's like, oh, should I stop? Oh.
Like the crowd all takes out their iPhones and starts recording.
Yeah, people are like awkwardly shuffling away now, like trying to not look and trying not to embarrass you, and everyone's
Jaro
like,
will turn to whatever's left of the crowd and just give a bow. I thank you all for watching our little bit of enjoyment, but sadly my friend, I think, needs a bit of a rest now. Thank you. for watching.
You hear from the ground, I think my nose is bleeding.
So sad.
And Jaro will lean down and kind of escorted Vasher towards where he saw Sam gesturing that he was going.
which makes sense because that is an ale stall, so nobody's going to look twice at the young lady who just fell on her face, who may need some ale to to recover from that. So over at the ale stall, Yumi, you've reached Winston.
Oh yeah.
Are you trying to like sneak up on him at all?
Not really, but I
No.
am trying to be aware of, like, you know, where we are and the fact that it looks like he's obviously watching his children.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to approach him, like, politely, to, like, let him notice me eventually.
Yeah, it takes him a little while because he's watching his kids and his perception isn't particularly good. So no, he doesn't really notice you until you're kind of right there. When he goes to take a sip of his ale, he's like, oh, can I help you?
Yes. Do you have a moment?
Well, today I've got several.
Well,
He's a bit
okay,
jolly. He's
so-
obviously had a few. It's like 10 o'clock in the morning, and he's a bit, this is. He's taking second breakfast quite seriously today.
Okay, so considering that he is a halfling and I am 6'7", what would be the politest way for me to get down so he doesn't break his neck?
Well, he's sitting on a stool, kind of, at this ale stall, so it's kind of like a like a stall with an awning with a makeshift wooden bar and bar stools set up. So it's like an outdoor bar, the kind that you find at festivals.
Okay,
so
not,
he's kind of
hurting
at
himself
some
in a
point
costume.
he's managed to clamber up on this stool. You're not quite sure how he got up there. Because his feet are dangling over the ground, but he's kind of just sitting on this stool, so he's not that much below you at this point.
Okay.
All you'd really need to do to get eye level is kind of lean on the bar, maybe.
Okay, then that's what I'm gonna do then. But I'm not like Yumi knows that she terrifies everyone that she meets, so she's trying to not be as naturally as intense as she usually is.
Yeah.
So she's like leaning on the bar, and after she asks, like, "You have a moment," I'm going to pull out one of my hand carved wooden buttons. I'm going to show it to him.
Yeah. He looks at it. He's like, "It's a button."
Yes. Yes, it's a button. I
Takes
was
another
told that
slug
you
of
were
ale.
selling these.
Oh, and he kind of indicates for you to give it to him, to hand it over.
Okay. All right, hand it over.
And he looks at it and he kind of squints at it, and pops it back in your hand. And goes, I think I might have been. I mean, I don't worry too much about buttons, and I don't inventory them all, of course. But yeah, I might have sold something like that.
Where did you get them from?
Here and there, this and that. I procure goods from all over, really. This is Saltmarsh.
Eyebrows going way up.
Mm.
No, it's really funny that you say that. And I show him most of the buttons on my dress that are exactly the same
Oh, the same.
because I made them.
Ah. What, were
Made
you
them
were you
all
selling
for
them over
my
the sea?
sister's dress.
Oh, well, maybe I got them from who you sold them to if you were making them.
No. Where did you get these buttons?
Are you trying to intimidate him or persuade him to give you more information?
Oh, that's a hard call. She doesn't want to really scare him because it's like, this is a festival and his kids are there. Actually, very mean. Actually, no, just given her nature, I'm just going to have to say intimidation because she's already scary enough as it is.
Yeah. So if she's leaning in and lowering her voice and making it clear that this isn't an optional question, I will get you to roll an intimidation check.
Okay, I feel bad. He's just a halfling. Oh no, this poor halfling! 19 plus 6?
He looks at you and kind of through his jolliness takes in your sheer size, the fact that you're wearing a pretty dress, but you can see like that you are buff. Like Yumi is fit, and he looks at you and he kind of looks down at your hands, and I assume you've hit things enough with your knuckles that there's a bit of scar and a bit of calluses on there, and he's like,
he probably actually has a great view of like the blast mark on like my left shoulder.
yeah. So he definitely takes all that in and goes from being jolly to like, oh, this is serious. This woman could probably rip my head from my shoulders without much of a second thought. And
I mean this in like the nicest way. I lean and I say, I need you to tell me the truth.
And in the interest of not getting the shit beaten out of him in front of his children, he downs the rest of his ale and kind of turns away from, like, still keeping an eye on his kids out the corner of his eye, but he kind of turns away so they can't really see him talking to you, and leans in and says, look, you're not going to go around repeating this, are you?
That depends.
I've got a business to run. I've got a family to feed.
I have a family too, and now they're gone.
Well, I'm very sorry for that. This is my home. It's all I've got. I buy things from people. That's all I do, and I sell them to people who need them. People need buttons, so I bought buttons. These particular buttons... And he stops. It's like, you can see him agonizing over this. If I give you the name, will you just leave my family and me alone? Would you just leave me alone? If I give you the name, will you just never speak to me again?
That really depends on how good this name is. And if
Oh,
you give me
it's a good name. It's a.
tell me, and yes, I'll leave.
You can see that this is not easy for him. He's like, these particular buttons I purchased from our good counselor, Gellin Primewater.
Do I know that name?
Yeah, that's the guy who gave you your last mission. That's the counselor
I knew
who...
it. Okay, sorry.
You definitely recognize that name. And he, as soon as it passes his lips, he turns back around, grabs another ale off the counter, and just turns his back to you like he's done.
Oh dear.
Have we, who are sitting nearby, been able to overhear this, or it's just been?
Yeah, I'd say he said that very quietly to Yumi, but you can definitely see the conversation that's happening. Derek and Sam, I'd say you just got there. You were just approaching kind of towards the tail end of the conversation. Same with Vasha and Jara. Nobody's really paying much attention to Jara and Vasha because you guys kind of have a reason to be going to get some ale. So you're kind of, you haven't really drawn his attention, but you are in the area.
I'm gonna say, oh boy, there probably is a crack in the air as Yumi probably actually crushes part of that wooden stall under her hand, and you guys can see a dark aura starting to form around her, and her eyes are starting to glaze over a little bit red, glowy. But she's holding it together.
That's good. Hang on, I just have... Oh, no. Sorry, cat. That's my... Fine. Fine. It's fine.
If Yumi's... Sorry, you go.
Nope, I insist.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna...
shit.
If Yumi's starting to look like she's losing it a bit, Sam is going to sort of go up and just sort of gently put arms on shoulders and see if she's willing to be sort of directed away somewhere a bit more quiet.
Yeah, Yumi, she's just like, she kind of like glances at you, not entirely seeing you, but she like gives a nod, like, yeah, no, direct me, please.
Okay.
The impression I'm getting.
Is there somewhere nearby, Alex, that we could sort of sit and talk quietly? Not
Yeah.
necessarily hidden, but just somewhere where people wouldn't necessarily overhear.
Yeah, totally. There's several places. This area is quite large, so even though there were crowds and crowds and like absolute throngs of people, it's kind of dispersed out into this area. It's gone down onto the beach, so there's lots of little pockets of people kind of setting up picnic chairs or putting rugs down and kind of having their own little spaces here. So you could definitely do something like that. All of the stalls have other people around them, but if you were kind of to set up in your own little area, people wouldn't pay attention to that at all.
As he leads Yumi away, I'm gonna walk up to the bar and get the attention of whoever it is that's behind the bar and just apologize profusely for the damage and start to cast mending on the bar where she crushed whatever wood was there. So
Yeah.
we can hear that.
The person behind the bar, who is kind of a grizzled old human man, kind of looks down and he's like, "How'd you bloody do that?"
Do it with my hands.
And he starts to say something else, but another group comes up and orders about 10 ales, and this kind of knobbly, hunched old guy kind of comes through, like starts pouring out profuse amounts of ale.
Jara, noticing the state that Yumi is in, would duck and follow after her and Sam.
Yeah.
So as we, I guess, head to sort of sit picnic style on the beach somewhere, what's the best approach? My goodness. Just yeah, Sam will just ask Yumi if she's okay.
It takes her a second, and her voice is very strained. And she's just like, "No, that rat has them, or he had them, or he knows where they are, or I don't Okay, I don't know, and I'm
It's
freaking
okay.
out, and
It's
all I want
okay.
to do is bring stupid flying net.
Can Sam just prestidigitate again? Just sort of, hopefully, little snowdrifts just around to sort of catch and distract
Yeah.
distract Yumi's attention while trying to just calm her down and say it's okay. Just sit, and when everyone's here, you can tell us what happened and what you need. I'm sure we can help you out somehow.
Yes.
Kind of calms her down. She's like, I don't know, she's like super on an edge of some sort. Like she's kind of like halfway between hysterics and absolute blinding rage. And not as in like, a rage, she's barbarian, as in like absolute complete righteous fury.
And that's when you see Vasha walk up and she's got like blood that's still kind of like streaming from her nose, and she sits down and she's like, "What happened?"
Okay, I actually want to say that might snap you out a little bit. Like, what happened to you? Me? Somebody punch you?
I fell down.
You fell down. You fell down.
Derek will come over, set his hand on your shoulder, and just say, "Shit happens," and cast Healing Word.
Thank you. And then she goes and like dabs like a little like seawater, and she's like wiping. And she's like, "What happened to you though? Are you okay?"
Oh, everyone keeps. It's really interesting because I want to describe everything that's happening, but Yubi doesn't really quite talk a lot. So you can tell she's struggling between like spilling her guts, but not talking because she's not a very expressive or talkative person. Probably what she all just blurted out to Sam was like really caught her off guard. But after like struggling for a second to hold it together, she just screams, "I'm going to rip his spine out through his throat!" And
People around you do hear that and kind of look over and they're like,
oh no, it's gonna get worse. Just letting you know, it's gonna get worse.
conversation kind of pauses for a bit before resuming in your general area.
Yeah, and I want to actually say, Yumi's so upset, her necrotic shroud activates.
Ooh. Right. People notice. People have noticed this.
Oh yeah! No, they're gonna notice, alright? Like, just, I don't think actually she's probably done this in front of you guys before, actually, because she knows it, like, terrifies people. Her necrotic shroud is basically her, like, fallen Asimir fun thingy, so, like, it's, like, different for everybody, but, like, for Yumi, her eyes go blanket glowing red, and her hair kind of, like, darkens, and she becomes kind of, like, really kind of blurry somehow, but also, like, dark. And just like these huge shadowy wings that don't even really quite look like wings kind of like shoot out from her back, and she just screams.
Yeah, people know, like, all the conversation around you has stopped and people are, like, shifting away, like, they're moving their little picnic setups away.
Vasha turns around. She goes, "Rehearsing for a play. It's in the afternoon. Come watch us."
Roll me a deception check.
Deception, okay. Not with that. Deception. That's a 12.
Yeah, I mean, they want to believe you.
Okay. Yeah.
They probably don't, but they pretend to.
Okay. But she looks like directly at Yumi and she's like, "Obviously something has greatly upset you. Perhaps we should go somewhere and discuss what's going on."
Was it that little halfling? Do you want me to go kill him?
If you want to rip his spine out, that wouldn't really be that hard.
Okay, I
So
think
if you
Yumi's
wish to
necrotic
get-
shroud just like drops just from like the sheer like, no, don't hurt the halfling. Like she's just like, no, don't kill him.
Was it his kids? You want me to kill them?
Oh,
No,
that'd
don't
be
kill
really
kids.
easy
Oh my
to do
God.
that.
No,
Just be
no,
like,
do
"Boop."
not.
Just be
Oh, I
like
feel
pulling
better.
flowers out of the ground.
I can turn into a bunch of different animals, and it wouldn't be that hard for me to eat a bunch of little halfling kids.
No, do not
I'm
eat
just
the
saying,
halfling.
if that's what the problem is, This is a really easy one to
Yumi's
solve.
sitting down on the ground because she just said, I'm feeling lightheaded, and she sits down.
And then Vasha looks directly at Derek. She's like, "What kind of animal would you choose?"
Yumi,
I'm really
Mommy,
fond.
I don't.
So I started turning into a polar bear because I was looking for a pearl, and it's really easy to go underwater when you're in polar bear and go swimming. Pretty cold water, so you can go pretty deep and look for pearls down there. So I'm pretty big. I could turn into a polar bear right now. Right now, and eat one of those.
As lovely as Derek, as lovely as this conversation is, you are talking about the murder of children.
I'm
I mean,
not
not the best.
serious. I'm just trying to calm her down. It's fine. I'm not going to kill a kid.
This is the opposite of calming me down.
Well, your shroud or whatever it was dropped, so clearly it worked.
Yumi, who is it?
Just
then
got to
that-
distract her.
Who is it then that you wish death upon?
Look, if anyone's going to kill a kid here, it's going to be Jara.
Yumi, like, actually, like, puts her head in her hands, like, please stop talking about dead children. Please, please, I'm
Yes,
begging
please.
you.
Please don't ever make those insinuations again, Derek. You joke.
Okay, everybody. What is going on that has got you so upset?
Okay. Oh, it's a story. It's a story. I'm still very lightheaded. That lying scumbag bilge rat who deserves to be ripped into shreds.
Whose name is?
Gillian Prime Water.
Yeah, Gallon Prime Water, the guy. Yeah,
They got us in trouble last time. Sorry, what?
Gallon Prime Water, the guy you got your last job from.
Yeah, Yumi's just like, she's trying to keep it down because she
I don't
knows
like
that.
that guy.
Yeah, she's trying very hard, like, but it's difficult because she's obviously extremely upset. And she's just like that lying, awful, horrible filter that needs to be killed, hauled, and then drawn and quartered, and then fed to wolves. Ugh.
What is it that he did, Yumi? Perhaps if you are struggling to put words to it, if you answer the
I'm
question.
trying. I'm getting there. I pull out the button, and I show them the buttons on my dress, and basically everything else that is on me. Pretty much everything that I own, I've made myself, including these buttons, and I show it to you guys, and I say, a man on the docks had this button. This is from my little sister's dress. And when I asked him where he got it, he said he got it from
Winston.
Thank you. Got it from Wilson. I went to ask him, where did you get this button? Because this is from my sister's dress. And he said he got them from Prime Water.
Really?
At some point, that rat had my kid!
I'm sorry. Is so. Well, we must talk to Prime Water about this then.
If he tells the truth. If he still has them. He better not have. Okay, one hand, I hope he has them so that I can rip him in half. The other hand, I hope he has them so I can just finally get them back.
Alex, quick question. From what Jada's heard, has he heard stories of the sea princes operating inland, or are they mainly out at sea?
They are pirates, so they operate out at sea. And Jara would know that they are a collection of pirates who operate throughout the islands off the coast of Saltmarsh. You have heard rumors that people have that they've got contacts in port cities like Saltmarsh, but it is all kept so quiet that you have no whispers of who they might be, but you have heard the rumors, because those are kind of the scary stories that smugglers like to tell each other. When you're already smuggling illicit goods, to tell each other a ghost story, the next step is the sea princes. I heard someone in town has a contact with the sea princes, and they've gone out to the islands to collect something terrible. So that's kind of the scary stories that smugglers tell each other.
Okay, good then.
Can I do a quick refresher as to what exactly Yumi's talking about? Because I know no one who's watching has any idea what she's talking about.
Yes.
So one of the reasons, the reason Yumi is in Saltmarsh to begin with is the fact that she lives super duper way far north away from here. She's from the mountains, and she takes care of her two younger siblings, her little sister Nara and her little brother Ite. And one day she came home and her house was ransacked and they were gone. And so she's been looking for them for probably the last like 6 months, I want to say. And the trail led her to Saltmarsh, and that's why she's been here. And she's probably actually described and told the group what they look like because, hey, if you see these two kids, let me know. If you hear anybody describing these kids who look kind of like me, but don't kind of. Her two siblings have way darker skin than she does, and darker hair, but they have the same like black and red eyes and like weird scarring on the face. You're looking for these two little Asimir babies, and she's kind of, now that she knows, like, oh yeah, some asshole definitely has them. She's not happy.
How should we go about this? Do you want to go question him directly? Do you want to go tie him up and interrogate him? What do you want to do?
That would be wonderful. Both options. But
It has been a long time, Yumi, since I have put my efforts towards entering places that I should not enter. However, should you wish it, let's just say I shall ransack every file he has and see what I cannot find.
It's
But,
like not even noon yet, right, DM?
Yeah, it's probably like 10:30 in the morning.
Well, if there's going to be any espionage or infiltrations, I assume it's going to happen at night. So
you would assume, but more often not people expect that. It's actually much easier to work within a crowd and then split away during the day. Yes, you have people active, but it is less suspicious to be seen.
I think at this point I'll take any help I can get. I just want them back.
There is also me. I have experienced many things, and Jado's going to hold up his left hand, which is missing his index finger in half and 2/3 of his middle, and start taking off the glove that he's always worn. And I would be more than happy to give those experiences to someone else. And as he takes the glove away, on the back of his hand, and it's very clear because the fur's literally burns away, there's a scarred brand seared into the back of his hand. It would be my pleasure to give this on to someone who might have harmed or imprisoned children. You simply need ask.
I suppose I am asking. At the same time, I'd like to do it myself. But as I said, I want them home, and I want them safe, and I don't want to think of what's happening to them.
We'll help you find them.
So, in terms of formulating a plan, does anyone know? I suppose a question for the DM more than the group. Is there like a running order of proceedings for this festival where the counselors are going to be doing speeches, presentations, judging competitions, that kind of a thing, so we can either, I guess, plan to approach him or plan to infiltrate his place while he's here doing his job, kind of a thing? Is
Or
there any
both.
information like that? Or both, yeah.
You don't know. There might
Is there
be.
somewhere we could find that out?
Well, you're at the carnival now, and there are lots of people around. There's probably some people here who are organisers. There is probably some people here there are definitely people here working at the carnival because everybody who's got a stall set up is working here. So yeah, the whole pretty much the entire town is here. You've seen faces you recognize from around the docks, from in the bars. So this is a big deal for Saltmarsh. Pretty much everyone is here. There might be a running order. There might be things happening. Yeah.
Sam turns to Varsha and asks if she would be willing to go and sort of approach someone who looks like they know what's happening, figuring you'll be the least conspicuous, especially if you, and sorry for leaning on this, but if you ask if there's a dance competition later, you might attract the least attention in terms of finding out what's happening rather than the four of us looking a little sus.
Sure, I can do that. I'll also go do a little, like, other things, like pretend to shop around and that sort of thing. So I'm not just like, are there going to be judges, particularly the council people?
Yeah.
So where will I be able to find you guys?
That's a good question. Where should we be? Yumi, do you want to stay here, or did you want to go back somewhere to get equipment in the meantime, or how did you want to handle this while Vasha gets some info?
I don't know. I didn't think this was going to happen today.
Why don't we do this? Yumi, why don't you stay here, gather yourself. If anyone feels comfortable staying with you, or if you feel like you need someone to stay with you, that's fine. Those of us who have the ability to do so should wander around inside the carnival a bit, either as a group or individually, and try to do some reconnaissance, see if we can get an idea of what's going to be going on for the rest of the day. Any information we can pick up is good. And let's reconvene here in approximately an hour. That should give us time to go and listen around a little bit.
Cool.
Yumi specifically requests, I need a drink.
Sam will stay with Yumi.
3.
Sam's like super grateful for all like the healing help everyone did to solve this situation. So Sam's happy to stay and be Yumi's gopher while everyone else runs around.
If Jara looks around here, is anyone currently keeping an eye out on us? Is anyone just even casually watching?
Again, I'm not going to make Jara roll for that. But no, everybody's very wrapped up in their own activities. There are lots of food stalls with snacks that people probably don't normally have. Everyone's treating it as kind of a treat day out. So people are having drinks. There's ale. There's even a couple of wine stalls that you don't normally get in Saltmarsh. It's, merchants opening up to... It's kind of... People see it as a business opportunity, given that it's a merchant town. People see it as an opportunity to attract potential new major clients and suppliers and deals and big purchases, as well as being a fun family day out. So everybody's very much wrapped up in what they're selling, what they're looking to buy, or to spend time with their families.
Okay. In that case, realizing no one's watching him, Jara's going to sketch a quick arcane symbol into the air, mutter under his breath, and discuss in disguise self.
What does Jara disguise himself as?
So he's keeping himself at the same height and roughly the same proportions, so there's no break in the illusion or anything like that. He's wearing roughly a similar outfit, just the similar textures and the like, so he's being careful not to give anything away. But he currently looks like a half-elf with darkened sun-tanned skin, weather-worn skin, almost a sailor, basically, like sea spray and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Half-elf with dark hair that's just less shaggy around the shoulders. Kind of average. That's the best way to describe it. It's just someone who you look at and your eyes just pass over.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. I will get you to make me a sleight of hand check because there are lots of people around. Nobody's paying attention to you, but there's lots of people.
Okay, I'm rolling well. The dice are going to betray me later. That's a 21.
Yeah, nobody notices. The only person who notices is like a 4-year-old kid who's like, and before his mum drags him away. So there's you pulled it off without a hitch.
So we meet back here in an hour. Is that correct?
Yep.
In that case, I shall see you soon.
I like your ears.
How
Thank you,
large?
I base them off yours.
Vasha starts like kind of like half skipping. She's like, I want to try that wine. It looks really good.
How large is the carnival area? Like, if I wanted to circumnavigate the whole, just do not even in the sense of like actually listening or paying close attention, but if I just wanted to make a quick loop of it.
Probably about 15 minutes. The market space in Saltmarsh is quite significant because they've got merchants and fisherfolk. So it's a fairly big market area. You could probably walk around the outside of the whole thing in about 15 minutes. That includes kind of going down onto the beach where some things have been set up as well.
Okay.
So
That's not gonna work. All right.
Jara is, unless did you want to do something else, Derek?
No, I'm gonna go over to the what we would in the States consider to be the midway, or wherever the games of chance are being done.
Mhm.
And while I'm listening to conversations around, start to try and analyze some of these games to see if I can discern how they're broken,
Yep.
and try to use my experience and wisdom to break these games.
Yeah, absolutely. There are definitely lots of games. There are some games of skill and some games of chance. There is like a slingshot alley with drawings of Sahuagin hung from the roof, and you can see people kind of flicking back and trying to hit the Sahuagin to win like candy apples that they've got set up. There is a contest of strength as well. So your classic kind of hit the target with the hammer and see how high you can go. The prize for that is a like a magnum bottle of wine. So there's a lot of people trying for that one. There is a dunk tank with a half-elven youth dressed in their absolute Sunday best, just flawless clothing, with a sign reading, saving for my own boat. Dunk me, please." No prize on that one, just the pleasure of dunking someone. And there's a cup and ball trick magician kind of fleecing the crowd out of money, as they do.
Okay. Yeah, I will.
In terms of looking at which ones you can probably break, make me a perception check.
19.
Well, the dunking one just looks fun. So there's no real way to break that.